good evening, wherever you're listening from in the world. This is the Overcast Gamers Show. My name is Abe Foster, and I'm joined, as per usual, by Reagan Harper.
Howdy.
And Balthazar Valentine.
Yeah.
Both my usual cohorts, and unfortunately we're having a wee bit of bandwidth crisis on my end, so that's why you're not able to see me in animated form this time around.
I would argue that it's always a bandwidth crisis where you are. It seems
That's
which
true.
Is,
that's true.
Which is okay, but it just is what it is. I guess
I wouldn't dispute that. I definitely wouldn't dispute that. So Reagan, you have been overseas in Japan, and you've been back for what, a couple of weeks now?
Yeah, I want to say a couple of weeks. I got back on the 18th, so. Yeah, so it was a couple of weeks, a little bit over a couple of weeks over there, and it was a good time. It was a good time. We talked about living homeless and things before I went on the last podcast, but that didn't happen, thankfully. Well, actually, to be honest, so my impression of Japan is that it's just an ultra safe place, and it's kind of one of the interesting, cool parts about it is that, like, you can rock around there in the middle of Tokyo at like 2 a.m. and feel totally safe. So I probably could have slummed it for a night or two if I'd wanted to, but I didn't. But yeah,
You didn't get any use out of that sleeping bag that you had?
No, I didn't. It stayed in the bottom of my bag, but I knew I had it. So if I had needed to, I could have. So
nice.
Yeah.
So Balthazar, does that sort of match up with your impressions of Japan as well when you went over there?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's quite a difference going over there from being almost anywhere else in the world with regards to, as Reagan said, that feeling of just like, it feels like everywhere is safe. Anywhere else you are, like, I think it's also just the fact that everywhere is so well artificially lit as well. That there are no dark corners or anything over there. It's all bright and lit up.
I think that would have been my challenge if I decided to go homeless for a night. Would have been trying to find somewhere suitably dark to hole up. Like, yeah, you're totally right. It's like there's LEDs on every surface. It's
So there's no dodgy basketball courts that you have to walk over to get to town, or like I just remember when I lived in Wellington, there was a few times where I had to walk through a uni campus or over a basketball court or something, and it was extremely poorly lit, and I swear there was people hiding, at every bend sort of thing.
Maybe that's part of it, right? Maybe that's what sort of gives it that safe feel. It's like genuinely everywhere is just lit, or at least in the major cities that we're in, or that I was in anyway. And it's not just that. Like it's hard to describe like what's so cool about Japan, but I think it's just a cumulative effect of all of the things that they have, like excellent street lighting, excellent trains. The trains are just like just incredible. Like I don't know how humans are able to achieve such a feat. And also I think it just comes from the fact that like the Japanese are just like really nice people and really good at their jobs. Like, you go in to get food, it's not an ordeal because they know exactly what they need to do. So they like welcome you in, they pull out the chair for you, and it's just like, oh, okay, that's where I'm sitting. Excellent. You sit down there, they give you your menu, and it's just like there's a system to everything, and it just works. Like, yeah, it's phenomenal. It's a cool place.
That's cool, man. I remember hearing something about Japan in terms of the food where, I'm not sure if this is true or not, but someone told me that you can't, or it's impolite to alter an item on a menu. So say you ordered a hamburger and you didn't like tomato, you wanted to have the tomato removed. I've heard that that's really rude to ask them to alter any sort of food item. Did you encounter that at all?
I did not ask for any food alterations. It's generally not something I do anyway. So I'm not sure, but I do know that. I was told that it's rude to eat on the street. So if you pop into a convenience store and you pick up, sushi roll and a coffee or something, you shouldn't eat it on the street. Like it's kind of or it's seen as kind of low brow, if you will.
Right.
Drinking too, like you have to, like moving. It's seen as rude to like drink, like you can carry a drink around and you can drink on the street, but you're supposed to stand still and step to the side and have a drink, and then continue. Like you're not supposed to drink while you're walking.
Yeah, and then the other one is on the subway. You can't. Oh, you shouldn't take a phone call if someone calls you and you're on a train.
Right.
You shouldn't have a phone call. And that one I'm well on board with. The last couple of
I
days
am too.
on the train here, like for whatever reason, a dude the other morning was on his phone having a big old conversation, and I commented to Case, I was like, this wouldn't fly in Japan. This shit wouldn't, this guy would be so frowned
This isn't
upon.
like it is over in Japan.
Yeah, and then that afternoon it happened again. Like it's not often that it happens on the trains here in New Zealand, but it happened again. I was like, what is going on here? Like all I want is a quiet 20-minute ride, into the city or back out again, without having to hear about this guy's life issues. So
Well, we don't have the quiet carriages in New Zealand. That's right. I've never been on a train in New Zealand that has quiet carriages or anything like that. Like that's quite common in the UK as well. Is they have I suppose because they have longer trains. They have big 10 to 12 hour train journeys.
Right. Yep.
And they're overnighters and things like that. So they have quiet carriages where if you say a word, you'll have the whole carriage, staring you down, tutting, all the good passive aggressive UK stuff.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, they don't have those. I think it's just agreed upon that like everyone's going to be good about things, and I think that's how Japan is the place that it is. There's all these little social etiquette things that kind of cumulatively mean that people can get along and exist in a society that is that dense. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's kind of necessary for them to have that sort of stuff. But, like, aside from all of that sort of stuff, actually, I should tell you guys, my highlight of my trip to Japan, well, not, the highlight of, like, the random shit that I did, the wedding and all that sort of stuff was amazing as well. But when I was in Tokyo, I went to Akihabara, which is, like, the electric town, the sort of like video games and anime district.
Yeah.
I went there twice, one when I first got there and one when I got back. But the highlight, and if you ever go to Japan, any gamer needs to go to this place. In Akihabara, which is central Tokyo, there's a store called Super Potato, which is a fantastic fucking name.
It is.
But it's kind of quite well known in the area, and essentially it's like a retro gaming retro gaming mecca. Like, so it's like 3 stories, and the first story is like the sort of the 16-bit era. So you've got your Super Nintendos and or 8-bit or whatever they were, the old school consoles. So Super Nintendos, Mega Drives, that sort of era. You can walk in and you can just buy those consoles. Like they just have stacks of them on shelves, just refurbished and essentially brand new, just wrapped in plastic kind of thing. You could walk in and buy any old school console you like. Then they have like hundreds of games for them, like just stacks and stacks of games for all the different consoles they have on sale, which for me was just like, how does this still exist? Like, where are they getting these consoles from?
Yeah.
It was incredible. So that's the first floor, and then the second floor is like the next era, so from Nintendo 64 through to kind of PlayStation 1s, and then kind of there were some PS2s and some 360s and things in there as well. So it was kind of that next era.
So the next 10 years, I suppose.
Yeah, you could get any of those consoles, and then all the quirky, weird shit that came out as well that wasn't in like one of the main kind of console sort of generations, like all the weird stuff that also comes out. Plus a shitload of games for all of those consoles as well. Like a lot of them in Japanese, obviously, but it was incredible. And then the third story was essentially like an arcade. So like they had a bunch of arcade machines set up and some just consoles from all the different generations and things. It was amazing. Like this place was just packed to the rafters with like all the retro gaming goodness you could want. I reckon if you went in there with like $300 to $500, you could come out with like the most amazing retro collection you've ever seen. But yeah, so not sweet. I was gonna say sweet potato, Super Potato. Go to Super Potato. It's on one of like the back streets. of Akihabara. But yeah, definitely go there if you do make a trip to Japan. It's totally worth it.
So
and that
so
was-
what's
yeah,
the
that was
price
probably my game
for a
highlight, I think. Yeah.
what's the price just out of interest, Regan? You said $300 to $500 for, is that so for
Nice.
about four consoles or something like that, or?
Okay,
7.
it sounds like you're after price. You're breaking up a little bit, but so the consoles. So for example, the one I can remember console wise was a Mega Drive because I considered getting one, and that was about, I want to say, 9,500 yen, which is maybe just off the top of my head, around $100, something like that.
Okay.
So that's
Yep.
for like a a refurbished, what essentially is a brand new console. And then the games were maybe 3,000 yen, so $40 to $50 perhaps.
Okay. Yeah.
So it was pretty reasonably priced. Well, I thought anyway. Like, it's probably the kind of place where, like, if you were a local, you would probably you'd go in there and be like, oh wow, these are overpriced. But yeah, like, when you're on holiday and everything just is like, yeah, I could buy that. It felt pretty reasonable, really. So yeah, it was pretty special stuff. You
To
just
get
have
a- to
dodge
get a
some
To get a non-yellowed, Super Famicom or Super NES would be amazing. A non,
Yeah.
They go horribly yellow when they get old.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of these were like totally refurbished, so like essentially brand new condition. Although I have seen online there are things you can do if you've got yellowed consoles like that. You can take them to bits and like chlorinate them, kind of thing, with like peroxide.
Yeah.
And
Peroxide. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen that as well. I just haven't. I don't know. I haven't been bothered. I suppose
I
is
think
the
you need,
honest
like,
answer.
Yeah, I think you need like UV lights and shit as well, which ain't nobody got time for that. But yeah, Japan was a trip. Japan was a good time, and yeah, I definitely recommend anyone going if you're interested into video games or anime culture or anything like that. It was sick. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we definitely have to plan a sort of Overcast Gamer Tokyo Game Show trip at some point, I think, just to get right in the thick of the madness. Tokyo Game Show would be amazing.
Definitely. Let's do it next year.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Right, so we better move on into what we've been playing, because this is probably going to take a while, I imagine, because there's one giant game that's been released over the past 2 weeks. I think it's been out, maybe a week and a half, and Regan's dressed for the occasion, and I think we all know what that game is. So Regan, you've sank in the most time out of all, out of us. Balthazar, I don't think you've played it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've put in about 5 hours so far, I think, and I'm barely scraping the surface of this thing. So you're gonna have to lead this conversation, man.
Where do you start? It's So yeah, I would agree. Like, if you've done 4 hours or so on that game, you are still in the tutorial area. Like, it's like, I think I probably put maybe 10 hours in or more, probably more, probably more like 15, 20. And I feel like I'm still being introduced to new mechanics and things like that. It's kind of, the game has that sort of, breadth to it, which is nuts. And I almost want to break this conversation down into little mini areas so that we don't get sort of bogged down in the mire of what it is. I guess the first place to start, the most obvious place to start, is just how it looks. Is just the kind of technical marvel that it is.
Yeah.
So I'm playing on like a just 1080p monitor. It's not the best monitor, but man, the game is probably the nicest game I've ever seen run on a PlayStation. Like, it's, when Horizon Zero Dawn came out, I thought to myself, like, this is a sexy looking game, but this game is just heads and shoulders above that in terms of kind of the way that they've done lighting. I think lighting is really the main thing here. That really sets it apart. Kind of the especially in that snowy area that you start in, like the way that everything gets washed out and white, and it's just so well done. What are your, because you're playing on the PS4 Pro, Abe? What are your
Yep.
impressions of how it's performed so far?
It's performed really well. I'm playing with noise cancelling headphones, so if my PlayStation is sounding like a jet engine, I'm not hearing it.
Nice. Yep.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, the snowy area. So there's a lot of lantern light, a lot of sort of soft lantern light in that
Yep.
that first area, and that looks amazing, absolutely amazing. The ambience that sets up is fantastic in that initial area, sort of that Hateful Eight style introductory
Yeah,
sequence
absolutely.
is, and it reminded me of GTA 5 as well. The North Yankton starting to that game set in the snow. Rockstar seems to have it for some reason, just setting the introduction of their games in the snow at the
Yeah.
moment. But it's
Yeah.
it's an interesting one. Yeah, so we'll stick on the visuals. I'm trying to jump the gun here because I just have so many thoughts whizzing around my brain. But so I've finished the snowy area, and I'm in the, I guess, what is the main world now. And it's constantly surprising me every time. In The Witcher 3, when you climb a hill and you'd get to the top of the hill and everything would just sort of lay out in front of you. You'd have the sun on the horizon and like rolling hills, and you'd see a hanged person swaying in the breeze. All these little things just to create this amazing ambience. And Red Dead has done exactly the same thing, just in a much higher fidelity, I think.
Yeah. I think it's things like the engine is working so well that those moments where they were excellent in The Witcher, they could sometimes be ruined by things like pop in, and you'd just you'd notice
Yep.
little things that kind of gave away that it was a video game. But this one is just so
Yeah.
fluid. Like you can jump, you can go up on top of a mountain and look out, and it seems like the draw distance is like just I wouldn't have imagined possible on a PlayStation, and nothing's popping in. Everything just the way things like blur out into the distance and all that sort of stuff is just incredible. Like I'm sure if we were more technical people, we could talk about all the fanciness and use the right words and things, but it as kind of the basis is the starting point for what is essentially a game built on kind of immersion. Like the visuals are just like they just nail it, like you've it's got to be that good. Well, it has to be as good looking as you can get it to be when your kind of core mechanic is just getting lost in this world. And I
Yep.
think that's it's spot on. It's so good, so good.
Agreed, man. I think my sort of my moment of awe so far is when I just sat down at the campfire, just recently actually, in sort of the last 10 minutes I was playing it, sat down at the campfire and it was nighttime, and just had a plate of stew with John and a few other people, and just the sort of the heat distortion coming off the fire melding with
Yeah.
the night sky, and that sort of soft ambience of the fire and the warm hues coming off the fire. Man, I was there. I was fully there during that moment.
And that's exactly what they're after, right? Like that's
I think so, yeah.
so moving on from the visuals a little bit, we're talking about immersion, and one of the things that have come up, or one of the sort of, I want to say, backlashy kind of things that's happened on the internet is people are saying it's a very slow game, and it is slow paced.
Yeah.
How have you found the pacing and that side of it? I guess early on it's hard to tell, but how have you felt? What's been your kind of read on that so far?
I haven't minded the pace. I've never minded slow games, and this is a Western, and Westerns are notoriously slow, so I kind of knew what I was getting into, really. I'm enjoying... There's not often that you get video games that just take their time and don't really give a toss what you think about that. They're not... They're not constantly bombarding you with action set pieces or trying to maintain your attention. Red Dead's just kind of like, this is me, take me or leave me, and get fucked if you don't like it, sort of thing. It's it's quite, I don't know, it's quite refreshing in that way. It's just, it's not vying for your attention. It's just like, hang out if you want. I don't care.
Yeah, it's very confident, right? It's like saying
Yeah.
this is the stylistic choice that we've made, and I think
Yep.
this like I'm going to keep using this wanky word immersion, but like for me, it all kind of does come back to that idea that like it's all about having the player just kind of get soaked into this world. And
Yep.
I think if you did something disingenuous, like trying to make it, trying to make it more fast paced, or trying to make it more like GTA or whatever, it would ruin that. And I think like you've got to. You have to understand that this game wouldn't be the same game without that kind of pacing to it. I think it would be my argument if someone stopped me in the street and accosted me about the pace of Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah, man. I feel they're. I'll get even more wankier than you, Reagan, and I'll say I feel they're trying to they're trying to emulate life in a wee way. They're trying to emulate all the really tedious stuff that comes along with life as much as the great stuff. And they're not totally shying away from that sort of thing.
I think because to be fair, like if you lived back in this kind of this era, it probably would have been shit. Like it wouldn't have been fun. So I think it's kind of just they're recognizing that and saying like, oh, there would have just been this dull side to life, and that's cool. Like,
yeah,
it is what it is.
It seems to be more about the relationships and hanging out with people than anything at the moment.
Yeah, I think at that early stage, it's about kind of just, I guess, getting to know everyone in the gang and that side of things. So, which is cool. What I'm really liking about the game, and I commented on this briefly on the stream the other day, was how their quest design is really nice. It doesn't. So I've come across instances like The Witcher where like you have side quests that kind of seem to meld into the main story, that kind of thing. But what they do really well is they have these seemingly kind of just mundane things that you're going to go do. So slight spoilers, there's a point at which you go fishing, and you think to yourself, like, how is this quest going to have something different about it? Like, what's going to be interesting about this? And then there is, like, even on those kind of ones where you're like, this is just going to be fishing, there's always a twist. Like, there's always something interesting about every kind of scripted excursion that you go out and do. And I think that's really impressive as well. Like, the writing is of a caliber that it just always seems to be fun and engaging.
It seems to be what you've described, Reagan, really resonates with me in that so far all missions haven't really been building plot or exposition as so much as building character, and I really appreciate that. I think it's just you getting to know Arthur Morgan more, getting to know his personality, getting to know the other people in your camp and their personality, or anyone you're helping. It's just hanging out with people. That's what this game is to me so far, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of it in those early stages, and then you start to kind of get glimpses of what's happened and what is happening, and understanding kind of, as you get to know the characters, you understand that there's kind of like a bit of a push and pull happening a bit under the surface, I suppose. But but anyway, we won't go too far down that track because it'll start getting spoilery. And I suppose thinking about all of that, like for me, like the immersion factor of this game is higher than any game I've played. But then that's because I'm totally bought into it, like I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm getting into this game and it's going to be great. It's just phenomenal. Highlights so far, Abe? Like aside from the camp sitting around the campfire.
Highlights so far. I mean, there's one mission where you get pissed, and I won't say any more than that. But that's definitely one of my highlights. That reminded me of The Witcher. That reminded me of the quest where you're sitting around getting drunk back at Kaer Morhen with the boys. And it reminded me tons of that quest, and just the way there's a montage during that mission, and that montage had me laughing out loud. It's absolutely fantastic. That's definitely a highlight, and just sort of it captures being really drunk just really well. just these sort of flashes of things that happen, and then you like, how did I get in this situation? Sort of things, like really great. But yeah, I suppose just the fluidity of everything melding into each other. It's funny that this game doesn't really give you a set path, and I suppose that can be a little bit intimidating, being that we haven't really had a game like that before, or at least in the way that Red Dead does it, in that it doesn't place any importance or emphasis on anything over anything else.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point. And I think that kind of led me astray a little bit at one point. So, like early on, I ended up like getting a bounty, like a significant bounty, like $150 or something, in the two towns that you start nearby. So Valentine and Strawberry.
Right.
So, and it was a pain in the ass because those two towns, they were where all the quests were. Like if I was getting a quest, I was going to one of those two towns, and I was sort of led astray in the sense that I had just been given this tutorial about like hunting animals, and and you can take those animal skins and you can trade them in for money, and it sounded like, oh yeah, you get quite a bit of money for skins. And I was like, shit, I need to pay off my bounties before I can really proceed. So I spent a good like 4 or 5 hours just hunting animals and for skins, only to go and sort of trade them in and have them be sort of like actually not worth that much. So I was sort of like, because the path is kind of a little bit blurry, I guess.
Yeah.
And I'd received this message. I was like, oh, actually, that's probably a good way to make money. But in the long term in the game, it's probably not. It's more about the crafting side of things. But it's just, I think it's just that kind of, like, it's a good thing. This kind of slight blurring of the lines as to sort of your path forward. But it ended up like me spending a lot of time trying to, make peace with the law.
Whittle your bounties down.
Exactly. Yeah. It was it was rough. I was in deep. Yeah.
Yeah. All the I'll ask you about the sort of, because this game, there's a lot of interactions. There's a lot of things you can do. There's a lot of buttons. There's a lot of interactions. There's almost too many things for a PlayStation 4 controller. Like, there's so many things you can do. I've found myself trying to remember how to activate certain functions and things like that, and it seems like Rockstar's gone a little bit overboard in terms of you can access your horse rucksack, you can access your satchel, you can access your own weapon wheel, you can access your tonic menu, you can access your pelts menu. It's just like, holy shit, man! Like, I can't remember all this stuff.
It is a bit of death by menu. I think you do get used to it, but I found the same thing early on. So there's like, there's the weapon wheel, there's your horse's weapon wheel, there's your satchel, there's your journal, there's like a kind of mini journal that just shows you all the quests that you have available. There's HUD options. There's like the item menu. It is extreme. Like there's I don't know. I think what it is you'd probably, even in a normal, in other games, you'd get a similar amount of UI, but I think usually they build it all into one menu. So you go, okay, cool. I want to go into the menu. Like you think about something like Skyrim, like you go into the menu and everything is there. I think what is a little bit challenging early on is the fact that they've taken everything and they've split it all out to make it, I guess, as immediately accessible as they can.
Right.
But it does make it a little bit harder to learn where all those menus are and what the buttons are. I think maybe that's what they've tried to do. They've tried to take all those menus and put them at your fingertips, but it makes the learning, picking up that where everything is a little bit harder. It does get easier. I've definitely found it's gotten easier. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, because as far as I can tell, at the moment, I sort of need those prompts to come up again, and as far as I can tell, it's a one and done situation with those prompts. They're like, well, you should know that. We told you once for 3 seconds. It's like, oh, nope. That information's gone from my brain.
Yeah, and you were being shot at the time, and
Yeah.
you just didn't read that, that particular little like block of text in the very top left. Like,
Yeah.
I feel you. I definitely feel you. But it's it's not holding your hand, I suppose. Yeah,
And I'm all for that.
Could be improved a bit for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like console gamer problems, where you're not used to playing games where every single key on the keyboard is a shortcut to open a different menu, and you need to memorize them all.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, we're just lazy, basically.
Yeah.
Just lazy fucking console gamers. Dirty console gamers. Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Although, to be fair, if I could buy Red Dead Redemption on PC, I would. And I probably will. When they release it on PC, I'll buy the shit out of that thing on PC. Just to play it at, like, the best quality possible.
It's funny because I was talking to someone about that last night, and she mentioned a good point, actually. She mentioned that, there was issues with GTA 5 modders and cheaters and things like that on PC, so I don't think Rockstar sees PC players in the most favourable of light at this point. So, I mean, it'd be remiss for them not to bring it out on PC. But I think
they're already
they're going
working on it on PC. It's already been 100% confirmed that the PC version is well underway.
Oh, has it by Rockstar?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right.
Yeah, it's underway. The only issue they'd have would just be, like you said, since GTA 5 was rampant with hackers, is just potentially not bringing the online element to PC or something, but the single player element, because they haven't talked about that at all. But they've confirmed that the single player is well on its way towards PC, but still not to expect it before like at least Q3 next year, kind of.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good. They're making it available at least to PC players, and they can turn down the heat on that community. Because I remember when Red Dead 1 came out, every year since 2010, seen at least a few comments. Where's the PC version? Where's the PC version? It's just man.
Yeah, for sure.
The sort of appeal of this game is quite amazing. Like,
it is pretty incredible how just everyone who's into games is just like, Red Dead.
Yeah,
it's happening. It's become like the Rockstar dropping a new title has kind of become like
it's a cultural milestone.
Yeah, it is. It's like a point in history. Like, mark it on your calendar. This is when something big happened.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous, but just I think it's just the amount of money that they make is just incredible as well. Not, as I claimed on the stream, at $2 billion in the first few days.
$2 billion in 2 days. I was like, I don't think that's right.
But it was a lot of money. It was like 750 million or something.
Yeah, 725, I think, in the first couple of days. Your first weekend, $725 million, which is not to be sniffed at. But
which is not bad. I wonder if I would be interested to know how much they spend on making them. Like, how much does it cost to make a Red Dead Redemption 2? Like, it must be in the hundreds of millions.
Easily, man. Being that it's gone on for 8 years and they have to employ, all the devs, all the motion capture people, the sound designers, everything they've had to employ all those people for a majority of those people for 8 years. I can't even fathom how much this game cost to make. But I mean, there's a few more things. Like,
I think
we could probably talk about this game for hours and hours and hours. We obviously have to cut it off at some point. But there's a few more things I want to go over before we move on. And that's the I want to get back to the sort of tedium elements, because there's sort of a cognitive dissonance going on in my brain in that I really love that sort of stuff, because it is immersion building, and it gives everything weight, and it gives everything a feeling of verisimilitude or realism, whatever you want to call it. But it also, sometimes you're sitting there and you're looting a table, and you pick up every individual can of beans, and you just wonder, do I have to do this?
Yep. And it's not... Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, big time. And it's not like, in some games they do the same thing, but there's no animation where the character has to move into place and he picks it up. You just go tap, 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 and it just, all the items just go into your inventory. This is a case where, like, you actually, like, Arthur has to physically move to that spot, pick up the can of beans, put it in his satchel, sort of thing. Like, it's a slow process for sure, and it is a little bit frustrating when you're like not standing in the exact right spot to have the prompt come up, and you've got to like walk. You end up doing that thing that you do in these kind of games where you get up and you walk around in a circle and you come back around and you face that spot again, and you go, okay, cool, now I can pick it up. And then he goes, oh, okay. And he slowly leans forward and he picks it up, puts it in his satchel. Like, yeah, I think that there could have been some concessions made in some places to make it just a little bit more, a little bit easier on people. There's got to be that point at which you have to say, actually, this is not necessarily adding to the immersion side of it. Like, Balthazar, was it you the other day you were mentioning how like you have to slow down to a certain speed on your horse to change clothes, and then
you can't change clothes while you're going at full gallop, even though when you change your clothes you just magically your outfit changes. So it's like they want it to be realistic, as in you can't change while you're riding at full gallop. You need to be moving at a slow trot or stationary, but still you don't actually have an animation for getting changed. Your clothes just magically become different clothes.
Yeah,
I also like, speaking on that realism thing, like there's one thing in it like that would annoy me so much if it happened to me, is so there's all these various things you have to do that I just consider tedious and not fun. Like you have to keep your horse clean and have to keep it well fed and all this shit, or it goes slow, or it doesn't like you. If you don't do those things, you could go to pat it and it will kick you in the head and kill you instantly. And that's it. Like, how is that fun for the player? How is that in any way? Like, yeah, it's realism, but it's back to your point, Reagan. Like, at what, like, concessions, at what point is realism going too far beyond sort of enjoyment for the player? Like, it's a one-off funny thing. If it happened once, you'd have a chuckle and then realize that you hadn't saved for an hour and you're fucked. Like, it's not good. It's not good. There's too much in that game that's keeping me away from ever playing it.
I feel like that would be, like, that would only happen because you'd have to really neglect the shit out of your horse for that to happen, I think, for it to get to that point. Like,
I would. I don't do mini games unless they're stupid, and feeding and cleaning isn't stupid. It's just feeding.
It's not stupid enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then, just either go out and buy or catch a new horse, or just walk everywhere. Yeah.
I think you can
or take stagecoaches.
You can run your horse through the river to get it clean, right?
Clearly, they decided that they wanted to do everything in like a very kind of specific way. Like, we want to go for realism, but there's obviously these pointy bits that they got to, like with the horse and the picking up of the items and things, where it was I reckon you can imagine they had conversations around this where it's like, how far do we push this? And, these are the areas, those pointy little areas that you notice that it's not probably necessary.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to think about. It all kind of comes back to their ethos, I suppose.
Is there anything more you want to talk about in terms of Red Dead, Reagan?
Not hugely. I think I'm just kind of keen to spend more time with it. I'm hoping that it doesn't get boring. The immersion is cool. I'm hoping it doesn't get a little bit tedious and boring, and I just want to push through it. But yeah, generally I'm just keen to spend more time as Arthur Morgan, and just looking forward to seeing how it all unfolds. Now that they're starting to drop little carrots and things into the story and your interactions with the other gang members, I'm starting to get hooked by that side of it. So I'm just excited. Just excited for it, man.
Awesome, man. I'll say the last thing I'll add is I really like how they John Marsden is just treated like shit by everyone. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Arthur Morgan says something like, "Oh, he's dumb as a sack of rocks, as dull as rusted iron," or something like that.
Yeah. He's just constantly being given shit, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's good stuff. I think it's handled quite well, like because everyone holds John in like such high regard, and now you're just kind of seeing him as an everyday dude, and it's quite good. I think they've done it in a clever way.
Definitely, and I think we'll have to do. We might even do a dedicated Red Dead 2. Probably not a spoiler cast because God knows how long it'll take us both to get through this game, but a Red Dead 2 in-depth discussion, maybe 45 minutes to an hour of just solid Red Dead 2 chat. So we might have to get that sorted too. But in the meantime, I mean that's Reagan and I. Balthazar, you got anything you want to talk about, man? What you've been playing?
Yeah, so I've been playing 20 new releases since 2 months ago when we last did talking about lots of games thing. But I'm going to talk about none of them. I'm going to talk about one game which I've been playing more lately. I've actually had for a long time and didn't get into until recently because in my mind it wasn't a real game. I want to take a bit of time talking about mobile gaming. Because it's not something people really talk about, and it's getting even further away from a thing now that we have the Switch, because the Switch is a portable console again now, and if you actually look at a lot of the games that release on it for $2 and stuff, they are mobile games. So the Switch is almost just becoming the thing. So if you want to play a game on the go, that's it. That's all you need. But my old favourite mobile game was a game called Cytus, which was a rhythm-based music game, which was a cool idea because it was basically made by a bunch of composers and artists who just wanted to get their music out there, but iTunes and stuff like that is so overcrowded they needed a point of differentiation. So they made a game which showcased all their music. I just thought it was a really cool idea, and the game was awesome and had a pretty cool concept behind it. I wouldn't say a story. The first one didn't have a story; it just had a concept for the world. But Cytus 2 came out this year, and it is my new favourite mobile game. It vastly improves upon the first one in a lot of ways. The music choices are really cool. Oh, nice. Got the original going.
That is just not that's not coming through very well at all.
But yeah, the second one improves upon it in terms of the actual rhythm based game. It's upped its game a lot there. There's more tracks in it. They have actually implemented a story. There's little animated scenes and stuff. But what I like about it is how the story isn't told directly to you. It's kind of discovered by you through. There is a story of this overall world, but in the second game you play as characters. So the first one you just play the tracks, and it kind of based on the names of the chapters and kind of some of the pictures in the tracks and things like that, you're piecing together an understanding of the state of the world. The second game you play as characters, and they have basically the storytelling is done through an instant messenger client. So in between track, each of the characters is a musician, and they have their own genre and style of music that they play and compose and everything. And they are basically idols. It's very much like a Japanese idol culture where, they have huge followings and stuff like that. And so a lot of it is done through IM, where it's their official kind of fan page tweeting out stuff or whatever, and its responses, and you're kind of understanding the world through that. But then you hit points where various characters become locked off or whatever because some real world event has happened that's taken them away, and you have to progress the other characters' stories to kind of get them back. And overall, it's just following the story of this composer called Aesir who disappeared ages ago. He held a festival, and people can't remember if it actually took place or not. And it
sounds like a mean festival. Everyone was
no. Well, the reason is basically because everyone who went had their memory wiped at a certain point in the festival, and so then the investigation starts to come like, okay, where did he go after this? Is he responsible for it, or was there some other person responsible who's also kidnapped him or whatever? And then other people's street, like one of the characters you play as a streamer, and her stream gets hacked, and everyone loses their memories and stuff like that. And so then it's like this whole hunting down Aesir to find out if he's responsible or what's going on. It's cool. I really like what they did with the characters, how they have their own genre of music, and the tracks are like kind of the best immediate thing you can see is in the main menu when you select your character. There's kind of the theme music for the menu selection, and when you tap on each character before you select them, it changes the style that the track is being played in to their genre. So one's like a pop star, one's kind of dubstep, one's just electro house, one's a classical composer, and so it's kind of re-rendering that track in their style, and it gives you like a really cool feel for just the character, and it's awesome. I love it. And mobile games, I think, have reached a point where there are legitimately solid gaming experiences in them, but nobody talks about them because you've got stuff like the Switch. Like, why would you play a game on your phone if you're a gamer? Because you can get a Switch and play a real game anywhere you go.
I think mobile games being marred quite a bit by like all the shit, like little mini experiences that you know, that are in there. Like, you know, and it's all just like, oh, great, you picked 3 watermelon today. Here's 10 flim flam coins.
Reagan's still burnt by Farmville.
Spend them on more things and just you.
More watermelon seeds.
Yeah, you know, and it's just not like you can kind of see that the games are just designed to take your money, and I think it's just kind of been burned by that, and like so people just don't assume that you're going to get a good experience on a mobile device, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the case, right? So that's cool, nice.
Yeah, I like Rayark's model up front. You buy the game, you know.
Yeah,
it's not a free sample. I mean, now the original one, now the second one's out, has gone free to play, where it's like, you know, first couple of chapters free and then pay to unlock more. But the second one's just buy it and you get a bunch of characters. They've added new characters since, and you do buy them separately as well, like little expansions. But like, yeah, it's just a classic game payment model, really. Yeah, that's it. And then I've just played a buttload of Switch games, like heaps of new releases and stuff. And even a PlayStation game. But
what?
Let's move on.
Right. In that case, then we'll move on to. I suppose we'll move on to our feature for the podcast, which I'm calling "By the Numbers." So I've sent you guys through a link to a Google Doc. If you want to open that up for me as soon as you can, have a look in there.
Cool. Looks like we just have a list of just developers by the looks of things.
No, there's games in there as well.
Oh, there is too. Yeah, Undertale's in there. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's mostly developer. I was going to write Toby Fox. He's the developer of Undertale, but I just wrote Undertale because no one knows. You know, no one would know who Toby Fox was, so I just put Undertale instead. So, what I'm going to do, how familiar are you guys with studios and how many people work at studios? You guys think you have a decent assumption on those, or
no? But this will be fun. We both work at a tech company,
so you can sort of see where this is going.
Yeah, okay.
We'll kick things off. So basically, listeners, viewers, what I've done is I've sent these guys through a massive list of developers. I'm going to read out a sort of a number, and these guys are going to choose from this list of developers and tell me which of these developers do they think would have this many people working there. So we'll do sort of a testing round here. So the first one is 400. So out of that massive list of developers that you guys have got, goes on 2 pages. Who do you think would have 400
Is there
employees?
A second page?
There's
400 employees.
400 employees.
Those ones could fit up on the first page, couldn't they? Anyway,
400 employees.
I don't even know who half these devs are.
Roxio?
Do you not?
400.
You should.
Isn't
They're pretty prominent, all of them, I would say.
Roxio is the one that did they do Flappy Birds or whatever?
Yeah, Angry Birds. Yeah,
Angry
yeah.
Birds. Yeah. I'm going to go them. I'm going to say
400.
Roxio has about 400 people. Because that feels to me like it's maybe a mid-size. Oh, maybe not Roxio. That'd be
I reckon
a bit
400's pretty. I want to give 400 to one of the bigger houses, to be
smaller.
honest.
Really?
Yeah. Not one of the huge ones, not like Square Enix or anything, because they got so many different departments and shit. But
Maybe something like Guerrilla Games.
Okay,
Crystal Dynamics.
Reagan's locking in. Do you want to lock in Guerrilla Games, Reagan?
Yeah, lock it in. Lock it in.
And I'll go Crystal Dynamics.
Lock in Guerrilla Games. Crystal Dynamics. Okay, so the 400 employees is the late and arguably great Telltale Games.
Right.
400 employees they had.
You need a fair few to churn out that crap every 2 months.
Hey, you like Tales from the Borderlands?
Yeah.
Yep.
That one game they did
That one
out
game.
of the 60.
All right. We'll go a bit higher. We'll go up to 750. Who do you guys think from that list would have that? I mean, that's a pretty massive
It's a
amount of
sizable
employees.
company.
Sizable
Yeah.
company, yeah.
Bungie.
Balthazar locking in Bungie.
I will say CD Projekt Red.
CD Projekt Red. Balthazar, you are entirely correct. It was Bungie.
Bungie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nailed
Yeah.
it.
So, yeah, I mean, there's 750 odd people working on Destiny, I guess. Because Bungie doesn't do
That's
anything else anymore, right? That's all they do. It's just Destiny. So, I suppose, I mean, they are pretty, they're high budget productions, right? You can see it when you play them. So I suppose they do need that many people. But I'm sure there weren't that many people working at Bungie when Halo Reach was their last game, right? They probably would have doubled in size since then, I would imagine.
I'd say there'd be a lot in terms of like a move from like Halo into Destiny. There'd be a lot more kind of infrastructure people for all the kind of online elements of it. I reckon that would be where a lot of that expansion comes from, maybe. Yeah.
All right, we'll go right down to a smaller one now. 25 people.
Hello Games?
Reagan locking in Hello Games.
Team Meat.
So
true.
You're familiar with Team Meat?
I assume they did Super Meat Boy because they have meat in their name.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Neither of those two, unfortunately. It's Playdead, the guys who did Limbo and Inside. 25 people. 25 people on that
that's
team.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent games for the
Amazing games, and you can see why it takes them blimmin' 4 years to make a game. They've only got that many people working there.
Totally, yeah. Oh,
It's
nice.
pretty impressive.
Cool.
We'll go for one of the massive ones now. Let's try 9,300.
Jesus. Fucking hell. Okay.
I feel like that's too big for just game development.
Yeah.
It's
So I'm gonna.
I'll say it's a publisher. I'll give you a hint. It's a publisher.
Yeah, I was gonna lock in someone like Capcom. I think for that.
Capcom.
I was thinking, Ubisoft or Square Enix. I'm going to say Ubisoft.
Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Okay, the 9,300 employees worldwide. EA, Electronic Arts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
9,300 staff. That's, oh man.
That's across the entire company, though, right? Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's the case for all of these, but far out, 9,000 people.
It's crazy, eh?
It's like a fucking army. Like,
yeah,
you could conquer a nation with that many people.
The EA reveals they actually do have an army, and that's what that's what the Battlefield's actually based on. Is the EA private army?
Yeah,
the Electronic Army.
Electronic Army, excellent. All right, 800.
800.
800. I'll give you a continent hint. Europe.
Rockstar North.
Reagan
Is that
locking
the one
in
that's
Rockstar
in?
North.
Yeah, that's the one.
That,
in
that,
Europe,
that's
right?
the Edinburgh studio. Yep.
Yep, cool.
I don't know where Treyarch are based. Maybe CD Projekt.
Balthazar again, correct. It's CD Projekt Red.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, 800 employees. They have offices in Los Angeles. They have offices in 2 in Poland, I think, maybe 3 now. And they also have one, I think, down in London. So they're actually quite large, that studio now. I remember back Witcher 2 days, thinking, who the hell are these guys? Like I'd never heard of them. And now they're basically they're a household name in terms of gaming, right? I think anyone who's into gaming would know of CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, absolutely. That's surprising. I guess they have their. I wonder if that includes the GOG side of things, or if it's just the development.
I think it's that's a good point actually,
be
Reagan.
intrigued to know the answer to that.
I would imagine that it's just the development.
Yeah, I guess it comes down to, are they just intimately entwined, or does CDPR own GOG?
CDPR
totally.
definitely owns GOG. I'm just not sure if that. If these stats, because I pulled these stats from Wikipedia. So maybe that does cover GOG as well. I'm not too sure. There can't be that many people working at GOG, surely. Right. We will do 360. 360.
360.
I should probably tally scores. Balthazar is currently in the lead with 2 points.
Oh yeah, I haven't scored yet. Yeah. Rocksteady.
Rocksteady. Reagan locking in the Batman.
That's a good call.
The Batman.
If you had more than 360, Arkham Knight would have released on PC.
Oh man, shots fired. Sorry, Rocksteady.
I'm going to just follow the numbers thing. I think I'm going to go 343.
343
Industries.
All right. So
how many people does it take to make Halo? I don't know.
A lot. So 360 employees. Rockstar North.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would have thought they were bigger, to be honest. I would have thought there'd be more people at Rockstar North.
Yeah. Still, I mean, that's
I reckon
not...
give half a point to Regan for that one. He had Roxt.
That's true. That's true. Okay, Regan, you get 0.5 for that.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, I appreciate that.
For rocks. For the word rocks.
Brilliant.
Rocks. Right, we'll go 2.
2. Team meat.
Regan locking in team meat.
Konami, since Kojima left.
2 people. 2 people making Pro Evolution Soccer.
Oh, it might be Undertale, whatever that one is, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Hey, there's no. I don't. I'm gonna go with some of the ones I don't know. I guess. Supercell. Who are they? What are they doing?
Supercell are the Clash of Clans, Clash Royale developers.
Okay, yeah,
Right.
sure.
Supercell.
Supercell.
Two.
This
Supercell,
game's a
right?
fuck
The most profitable game in the world. 2 people. It's team meat. Regan, you're entirely correct on that one. So
Thank
you get your 1.5 points, Regan. Balthazar, you're on 3. So we will go... Well, from 2, may as well go to 1. One person.
Well, that's got to be Undertale, right?
Yeah, right. It's got to just be Toby Fox.
Yep, that's right. That is Undertale. I suppose I kind of spoiled that one at the start.
Yeah.
Did not think that through.
You should have just put not Undertale. Should have just put Toby Fox up there and then see if we get it when you say 1.
Right. We will do. We'll do the biggest one on the board. 13,742.
Jesus.
So
Square Enix?
Reagan with Square Enix, Rise of the
They
Tomb
must
Raider,
be.
Final
They must be
Fantasy,
massive.
lots of projects, Just Cause, yeah,
Yeah,
a shit ton
kind
of
of.
stuff.
Lots of huge games.
Yeah, I would think Square Enix as well, but just for a point of difference, I'll say Nintendo.
Nintendo and Square Enix. Both incorrect, unfortunately. It is our old mate Ubisoft.
Oh,
Yeah.
underestimating. So that's the largest number you have?
That's the largest number I have, 13,000. Yep.
There's a lot of...
Ubisoft seem to have offices in every city in the world. It's just insane. I swear,
Crazy.
like every... when I was looking it up, it was like Ubisoft Montreal, Ubisoft Paris, Ubisoft Lisbon, Ubisoft Melbourne, Ubisoft Toronto. They're just all over the... And, there was like Ubisoft...
Ubisoft Levin.
Ubisoft Levin, yeah.
They need customer service teams in every country to handle all the complaints.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, nice.
Gotten a
Who do
bit
you
better.
think who do you think would win in a fight out of EA and Ubisoft? Not
In
necessarily
terms
just
of
based
sheer
on numbers.
military
EA.
or...
Just like who's your pick? Like, because obviously Ubisoft is bigger, but
Yeah.
like
EA would do anything to win, so like
EA
literally anything.
EA
They'd
has,
commit genocide with their electronic army to win. So.
EA has Andrew Wilson, who looks like a Bond villain, that Australian guy who looks like a James
that's
Bond villain.
true. Yeah,
So
Yeah.
he is leading the electronic army. Ubisoft has Yves Guillemot, who seems like one of the nicest people ever. So I can't
Yeah.
I can't. Although he could be a smiling assassin.
well, that's true. He might be one of those guys that like when you get him in a boardroom by himself, he's just an absolute like animal. But yeah, no, I think you're right. EA would probably win in a
Yeah,
fight.
take it out.
Yeah,
but bit more ruthless, eh? I just feel like
totally.
EA would be would kill without remorse, would kill and would shoot you in the back while you were, weren't looking, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then like have a good night's sleep that night afterwards.
Yeah. All right. 283. I'll give you another continent hint. Asia.
Asia, From Software.
Reagan locking in the Bloodborne and Dark Souls developers. And Armored Core. Balthazar.
Balthazar's putting a lot
Kinda
more
has
thought
to
into
be,
his
right?
choices.
It kind of has to be From Software. I would have thought they had more though.
Yeah, I would have thought so too. But
I can't tell who else up here is Asian other than the publishers.
Do you just want to lock in
I lock in From as well.
From as well? Well, you are both entirely correct. It is From Software. 283.
Really?
Yeah.
That
283 people.
that's impressive. It's not very large at all.
No,
It's,
it's. I mean, it's still reasonably large, I suppose, as compared to 2, but it's,
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. For the
yeah,
level
I
of games
suppose-
that they make,
yeah, to crank out something like Bloodborne, you would imagine. I mean, they had. What? When was the last? What was the gap in between FromSoft's last Dark Souls game and Bloodborne? What was that? 4 years? 3-4 years?
It wasn't until I'm pretty sure Bloodborne came out in between Dark Souls 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And those games only came out 2 years apart. So it came out 1 year after a Souls game.
Jesus. So they obviously have multiple departments in there. The Dark Souls department, Bloodborne department, but fuck, that's that Japanese
That number's
productivity,
impressive.
man.
280 or something, and they've defined a genre.
Yeah, that's damn impressive. Jesus, and now they've got, of course, Shadows Die Twice, Sekiro coming out next year, I think. So, right, we'll switch this up a little bit. I'll give you guys the country or at least the continent from now on, just to make things a little bit easier, I suppose. I didn't realize that everyone didn't have this sort of object knowledge of developers.
you do seem to have a very, very sort of encyclopedic knowledge of developers. It's
I listen to a
impressive.
lot of
It's good
podcasts,
stuff.
Reagan. A lot of podcasts.
yeah, nice.
Okay, so we'll go. Let's try 275, and it is the continent of America, and I suppose be more specific, North America. It's not
North
a continent,
America.
but it's the upper half of the continent.
343. Oh no, that's the Microsoft one, isn't it?
It is. It's the Halo team.
Yeah. Media Molecule. Or are they European? Oh God.
I can't answer these questions, Reagan. I can I can narrow it down to a city for you.
No, I think that's too much. Well,
Too-
I don't
yeah,
think
too-
that's
too
right.
easy.
Either
It's
of
fine.
us
I'll
will
just,
get any
I'm
more
okay
from
with
that,
making a
but,
fool of
yeah.
myself if I can't get the answer. You go first, Balthazar.
Rearc.
Treyarch.
I'll go IOI Interactive.
Okay, so it's Insomniac.
IOI.
It's Insomniac.
I don't even know what they make. Yeah.
IOI is Hitman.
That's why I'm steering away from them. I don't know.
Yeah.
Treyarch.
IOI is Hitman, and they're based in Denmark, Copenhagen.
Oh yeah, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's Insomniac, Spider-Man dudes, and along with, other things, yeah. They're in LA, Los Angeles. Amsterdam. 250. There's not many other developers, Dutch developers. You guys should be able to get this one. 250, based in Amsterdam.
I don't know where anyone's based.
250.
Reagan?
Where were they based? Sorry.
In the Netherlands, in Amsterdam.
The Netherlands. This is getting.
I
quite
visited
difficult now.
their headquarters. That's a clue.
Oh, Guerrilla Games.
That's them. That's Guerrilla Games. 250 people.
Guerrilla Games.
Right.
3 points.
Free point. Yeah, 250 people made Horizon Zero Dawn. That's pretty damn impressive.
That is. That's a phenomenal effort, actually. To be
Yeah.
honest.
Yeah.
It's crazy, eh? The sheer detail in that game is insane. 250 people, but okay, we'll do a couple more. We'll do another large one. We will go 4,606.
Whew.
Biggie.
4,000.
If you guys
Maybe
want me
that's
to,
Square Enix.
if you want me to narrow it down, it's Asia again.
Yeah, it's got to be Capcom or Square Enix. I'm going to say Square Enix.
Capcom. Go for the other.
Nice. It is everyone's favorite,
Oh, no.
Konami. Metal Gear Survive. 4,000 people. Obviously, that's not
Crazy.
true, but most of them are probably working on Pez and Pachinko, I imagine. But
Yeah, oh my god. Pachinko machines.
Pachinko machine. Oh yeah,
If you
you
go
would
to
have had some
Japan,
run-ins
go
with
into-
those.
Fuck yeah. Go into one of the pachinko halls and just like try and be in there for 5 minutes without getting a headache. Like it's insanity. So loud in there. So
Just
loud.
go into a pachinko hall, find the inevitable snake eater pachinko machine that will be there, and just stand there while it goes. What a thrill!
Yeah,
for
yeah,
like 10
yeah.
minutes.
Oh, I love that song. I want to hear like a MIDI, like a really low quality MIDI version of Snake Eater.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do one more. Extremely popular game. 700.
Extremely
Naughty
popular.
Dog.
Yeah, good call. It's got to be. Yeah, Naughty
You
Dog.
both locking in Naughty Dog?
Yeah.
Extremely popular game, singular, should have been the clue. It's
Oh.
Epic
I
Games
don't-
with Fortnite.
Right. How
700
many
people.
was it? 7.
700.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because they
It takes 700 people to recolor the same skins to release every day.
see because what I'm thinking is that will include the teams that work on Unreal Engine, right? And
Yeah.
like
I think it would do.
maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
That's their proprietary engine, right? So they rent it out to people, and yeah, so there would be a massive section of that just dedicated solely to Unreal. I think so.
To the tools, yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah,
If they do Unreal Engine, why does their game not look good on it? Like, wouldn't you think they would have the best understanding of how to optimize a game for that engine, but it runs like shit and yeah.
Yeah,
I thought you were a Fortnite fan, Balthazar.
Oh, like I think what they did was great, but I've always hated the performance on PC. It does not run well.
I think maybe they've just done it so that it's like approachable for a lot of platforms. Like it can be played on Switch, it can be played on mobile, that sort of thing. They haven't pushed the engine as far as it can go, because Unreal can do like full on like realistic shit.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah.
again, like when they're not pushing it, why does it still run like crap on every system it's on? If they're not pushing the engine either.
I don't know.
Like it lags, it takes forever to load, it runs really poorly. It has like constant micro stutters and stuff. I'm surprised I totally forgot that they did Unreal Engine 4 and now I fucking hate them. I hate them for not optimizing their own game on their own engine. That's
Right.
just made me actually like so angry.
It'll be
I've always hated the performance of that game and now I hate it even more. There is no justification for it at all.
It'd be hilarious if they're actually running like Havoc engine or something. They weren't even using Unreal.
Havoc. Pretty sure that the original Spyro was in the Havoc engine.
No way, really?
Something like that. I feel like that was the case. Yeah.
I feel like the Havoc engine was the in thing for sort of 2003 until 2006. Sort of around that time frame was Havoc was everything, was in every game. Then after that
Yeah.
it was just like no. we've got the Rage engine,
Totally.
we've got Decima, we've got Unreal, all those sorts of things. But so the rest of them I'll run through them quickly just to give you guys a brief idea. So we had Naughty Dog 252, Hello Games 20. Hello Games. They started off with 12. And since I looked on their Wikipedia and a few links and things, they've gone up to 20. I suppose they are putting out updates for that game now. So they did an underwater update the other day, The Abyss. So constant content. We have
Yeah, I saw that.
we have Supermassive, the Until Dawn developers, 150. Only 150 people there. Who made Until Dawn and Tales of, was that Man of Medan, Tales of Vesperia? I can't remember the name of the game.
Whatever. Yeah.
Platinum, Balthazar, 211 at Platinum Games.
Oh.
Yeah, not huge. Smaller than
No.
smaller than FromSoft, 211. 343 Halo devs, 450. We had
Shit.
Too many.
Crystal Dynamics, too many. Yeah, Halo doesn't really excite me anymore. I'm kind of with you on that. Crystal Dynamics, 350. Pretty good. Tomb Raider, that's a big game. Very big game. We had Rockstar San Diego. So I suppose they were the Red Dead 1. I think they probably did about 80% of that game. This time around, Red Dead 2, obviously all the studios were in collaboration. But Rockstar San Diego kicked it off with Red Dead Redemption 280 Rockstar San Diego. We have Treyarch. They did Black Ops 4 recently. 250 people. Tiny. That is tiny
Wow.
for a Call of Duty. Absolutely tiny. I thought...
And funnily enough, like they're a small team, and Treyarch are the team that make the good Call of Duty games.
Yeah.
Like there's Treyarch and there's Sledgehammer,
Yeah.
and Treyarch do the good ones.
That's true. Yeah. After Infinity Ward dispersed and turned into Respawn, and then Respawn got bought. Yeah, there was no one left. Treyarch to make the good ones, but Playground Games, the guys who do the Forza games, and apparently the Fable game. Speculation that's coming out. 200 people at Playground. They're also expanding. I've seen lots of job postings from them at the moment. Playground Games, based in England.
Cool. Yep.
You had the Angry Birds dev Roxio, 500 people.
What? 500 people?
Yep.
500 people? What? I guess they've got. Well,
I don't know. I'm
not sure how to justify that.
Is it still being updated? Is Angry Birds still getting updates? I haven't played it for about a decade.
I didn't know it still existed.
Yeah.
Let me have a look. A decade, yeah. Surely, how many times can you fling an Angry
Someone's
Bird?
making those crappy shirts. Is that them?
Yeah,
You still
true.
see people wearing Angry Birds shirts all the time.
Yeah, that's true. And Angry Birds lunch. There's all sorts of Angry Birds paraphernalia out there. Lunch boxes. And,
Yeah,
and
that's what they do now. They don't make the game. They make the
the merchandise.
So,
tat.
The tats, yeah, it's a better word for it.
There's Angry Birds 2 here. On Android, it's 162 megabytes. Like,
Man.
why is it so... Like,
Angry
come
Birds
on now.
2? I don't remember. How many downloads have we got on that bad boy, Reagan?
It looks garbage, but it says
Poor
100
Roxy.
million
Yeah, so-
plus downloads.
They're still doing very well for themselves. Extremely
Yeah.
well for themselves. I enjoyed Angry Birds back when I played it, but it held my attention for, 40 minutes. No, it's kind of...
That's the thing. It was a game that like shouldn't have made money. No discredit to the team, but the amount of time that it could hold your interest for was shorter than the amount of levels you got in the free trial version on phones. So I don't get who was buying that game.
We have Rocksteady 164. I think that's really low for the Batman games. That's
Really?
Makes sense though, because they tried to pull those games off PlayStation and did not do well on other
that's
platforms.
true. Yeah, did they port that in house to PC?
I think they did, yeah.
Yeah, that's a shame.
And then in the end, I think someone else took over. I think in the end, someone else had to take over to actually get it there, to port it. But
And then it just got pulled off completely from Steam, right? Like it didn't end up actually getting on there.
or
Like,
Rocksteady.
I don't think it's available on Steam. Arkham Knight,
The
sorry.
games were good though.
The games are good. I love the Batman games. Media Molecule, the Dreams and Little Big Planet developers. 64 people in that team.
I
Wow,
thought they
really?
made 4.
Spore.
That's impressive. 64 people.
Yeah.
I think it's weird how you're kind of like excited or surprised by the numbers from some and just like appalled at the numbers from others. Like
Dang,
Ubisoft,
Angry Birds.
Like, what? What are all these people doing?
Sony Santa Monica, God of War devs, 200.
Yeah, no, that's small.
Awesome.
Pretty damn good. Capcom, 2,811.
Yeah, I don't know what these other devs are doing.
Yeah.
Nintendo, 5,501.
5,100.
And Square Enix, 4,335 for Square Enix. So
They have a lot of IPs, so it I
Yeah.
don't know. Do they have enough to justify it? Like, I guess they're probably like teams of 300 or something, maybe. So maybe you can justify the size.
that's a good point. They do have a lot of IPs, and they do need to spread themselves over quite a few developers, I suppose. So 4,000 is probably about right for Square Enix. But Balthazar, you took that home with 6. Reagan, you're on 3.5. Sorry, can't miss out that half. So congratulations to Balthazar for the
thanks. Don't discredit that half a point that I didn't even earn.
Well, this month's episode of the Overcast Gamer Show at this point. Thanks for tuning in again, everyone. Sorry about the technical difficulties this time. We will try and get that sorted by the next one. But in the meantime, feel free to check us out, as per usual, overcastgamer.com. It's where all our stuff gets posted. We're also on Facebook, Overcast Gamer, Twitter, Overcast Gamer. And we do the good old streams. Reagan did a Red Dead stream the other day, which I really enjoyed. The full cowboy, Kiwi cowboy garb you had going on there, Reagan, with the sun sort of boater hat as opposed to a cowboy hat. It's a very Kiwi version. I like that.
I'm wearing it again now, Abe. You might not be able to see it, but I've had my hat on the whole podcast. It's good stuff.
It is good stuff, man. I especially like that sort of little tip, the little tip of the hat you just did there. Beautiful. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we will be back again in 2 to 3 weeks.